I'm doing. Got some new equipment here, new camera. Hoping to try it out a little bit. So I know we've been MIA for a little bit, and Carrie's busy. So I want to put out this video that I get this a lot, especially since we've been hiring a lot of OOs, owner operators, for a long time now. So people are always asking, how do you hire those OOs? And it's not easy. So let's just start with JJ Keller. Love JJ Keller. I'm not getting paid by them. I wish I was, but either way, driver qualification file. If you're hiring OO, go to JJ Keller. Get this for each one of your drivers. It's the same setup. Pretty much almost everything you have to have when you get audited at your 6-month audit. Step by step, there's 8 different steps within this. They send you almost everything that is needed. Step 1, employment application. These OOs, they still have to have that. And again, this is all if you get audited. If you want to take that chance and never get audited, you can just hire away and not care about anything else. But there's step 1, employment application. And that also needs to look back at a 10-year history. And for CDLs, that's a 3-year history of going back into that. So also kind of step 2 is kind of irrelevant right here. Then it goes to the driver certification. If they're non-CDL, you have to ride with them and get that documentation and get that signed by you and I believe the driver also. It's been a while since I hired a non-CDL. But if they're CDL is acceptable form of that. Medical certification, obviously they gotta have their medical card, which then goes into the drug and alcohol testing portion of it. I always have my drivers get drug and alcohol tested before pre-employment. I believe FMCSA, it's just an alcohol test. I like to get it just both out of the way. And then, which that takes me into the custodium. Your drivers each have to have a custodium. Can you correct that? CDL drivers have to have a custodium for a random pool. And that varies. There are companies out there that will do that for you. If they get pulled right there on the side of the road, they can go get that taken care of anywhere in the USA. But if not, what I do with my drivers, and you gotta make sure you're trusting your drivers. So if they're getting a letter, they show up to the custodium and they're getting that taken care of. I got some drivers that are in my personal custodium, that way I can monitor that better, but there's a few out there that are responsible and will take care of that if needed. Also, with that being said, you have to have a medical examiner's certification. You gotta make sure they're going into the national registry and being verified with that. That's very important, again, for auditing. Again, this kind of goes into a employment eligibility verification, an I-9. I believe I haven't had to deal with that, but I believe that's for anybody that's here or maybe on a green card, work visa, whatever it may be. So, and then you got to dig into their MVRs. I know I touched on that a second ago, but you got to go back 3 years MVR, motor vehicle registration, and that is per state. I've had multiple drivers, one that lived in one state and he got his CDL in another state. You got to pull from both of those states. And then I think I'm jumping around a little bit here. I should have been a little better organized. But drug and alcohol clearinghouse. If they're CDL, again, you have to go to that drug and alcohol clearinghouse, and there's a fee associated with that. I forget, I think like $1.25 through the clearinghouse. And this is all done before pre-employment. And so again, jumping around, MVRs, back to the MVRs, I know, I'm sorry. you gotta do their MVRs, you gotta run those annually. So if they're hired on a certain date, you better be doing it annually. But what I like to do, July 1st every year, just go ahead and take care of that, even if they were recently hired. So it just keeps me safe, keeps them safe, keeps the company safe. Also, let's go to ELDs. I highly recommend you get all your drivers, all your owner-operators on the same ELD. By law, as an employer, as a carrier, I have to monitor those ELDs. I just can't have all my guys run around and not monitoring those. You know, that's those things can bring some hefty fines. So you got to monitor those ELDs. So it's best to have all of them on one page. You can just pull them up. Right now, I got most of my guys on Keep Trucking. I can pull it up, watch their location. I can see their speeds and everything in between. It's my job to monitor those. So let's go back to the driver qualification file. What didn't I miss? So I think I got all that taken care of. I mean, of course, you got employment history, background checks, driving with them, the road certification, and their medical card, all that pre-employment to be out there on the road. And see, another thing with them, you got to monitor their maintenance records. You have to have a log of all their maintenance records, which they should have that on the road. Sometimes DOT will ask for that information, but monitor them. If they get their oil change, rotate, make sure it's documented, make sure they get you that information every time. And you got to make sure you're inspecting their equipment too as a carrier. Make sure that equipment is inspected, and I don't know, do it monthly if you have to. Have them send you pictures, whatever it may be, but it's your responsibility as a carrier to monitor those things. I mean, keep those roads safe. And with that being said, you got to make sure your equipment's working correctly. But if you are a commercial vehicle driver, that commercial vehicle, the trailer has to have brakes. By law, the trailer has to have brakes. There's some out there running around without brakes. It's illegal. You're not a commercial vehicle. So then it brings me down to IFTA. They run CDL. Again, as a carrier, your responsibility to monitor that IFTA. You got to do that quarterly. I wouldn't allow them to do that. It's my personal opinion. Same with New York HUT. I wouldn't just throw stickers out there at people and hope they're taking care of that. It's going to come back on you as a carrier if they're not paying those. And of course, insurance. Important to monitor your guys' equipment, everything in between. They get an out of service, your insurance premium goes up. So again, hiring OOs, it's a little bit different than just putting people in your own equipment. It's that equipment is, when it's yours, you can monitor it easily, as opposed to an owner-operator. I think it's more tougher. You got to make sure you're on top of that stuff. You don't want any out of services. Your insurance premium is going to go up. And I know it's the same for hiring drivers and owner-operators, but in my opinion, I think you can monitor that equipment if it's yours a little better. Also, make sure they're sending you pictures. If they get loaded, make sure that picture is sent to you somehow. There's apps out there you can help monitor that, or just text you pictures. I have all my guys do that. There's been a few times where I've caught them where straps weren't correct, or they needed a few more straps. Again, it's your DOT number. I've had some that when they quit, actually just one where he went out and he wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, but luckily we caught that and got all of that corrected and got him off the road. Guy didn't care about my DOT numbers. He just cared about himself. So carriers, you got to monitor yourself, protect yourself. Kind of brings back to owner operators. I got one guy that's starting down in Florida. I sent him my IRP plate. He's the first one. Most of my guys, phrase that, all my guys except for this guy, have got their own apportionment plates, or IFTA plates in their own state. Each state varies from state to state. Texas, they just want to see a signed lease. But this guy's out of Florida, so Florida just a little more difficult getting a guy some plates down there, so I sent him mine. But at the end of the day, that is Ohio hauler's plate. Again, it all comes back on you. It don't matter if they're OOs. And I do want to touch on a little bit as to, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Also, hiring owner-operators, you have to have policies in place, handrail policies in place, and have them signed. I have multiple out there. Same with personal conveyance, PC usage. I only allow them to have so much. There's just, again, my numbers. So you got to protect yourself as a company. So, all right, let me move forward a little bit past that. In my opinion, as I've got a lot of guys that say, "Can I book my own loads?" Absolutely not. It's in the signed lease and contract. They are not allowed to sign their own or book their own loads. The reason being, I don't want them to set up something with a broker and they bail on that load. They don't want to take that load for whatever reason, and then I got another guy or myself, I'm trying to book a load with that broker. All of a sudden they're looking and say, you failed on the load. I don't want to book any loads with you. It's the same with brokers. It's the same with just anybody you're hauling that load for. So, word of caution right there. I suggest you book the loads. You take care of it. It's your company, your numbers. Take care of it. Which then takes me into a signed lease. I got probably a 10-page lease that my driver signed that includes a passenger waiver on that within that lease that they have to sign that relieves Ohio hauler of any liability of passengers. And it's required too by FMCSA for them to have that documentation. So make sure you're taken care of. So backtrack a little bit. Sign lease, driver's application, which should be in this. You have the DQF, driver qualification file. This will give you everything you need for your drivers. I want to make sure I touched on everything, and it looks like I have. So I hope everyone enjoys this video. If you like the content, hopefully I can find time to put more content out there. We've just been so busy. COVID had kind of hit and took us down a little bit and slowed us down, but still we're still busy. We're still sitting in these office seats every day, and we're taking care of business. So like and subscribe. I like to get those numbers back up a little bit, get people back interested in this. And again, this channel really wasn't about subscribers. I was seeing content out there that just wasn't making sense, that I'd go and do my due diligence and it wasn't panning out. So this is why I put this channel, Life on the Road. It really wasn't so much about our adventures when Carrie and I were out there. It was more about helping people get out there and understand what they're doing before they got out there and to do it safely. So with that being said, like and subscribe. God bless. Stay safe.